Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome back to our discussion of the Tour de France. It's stage number 14 that was just completed today, moments ago. Meanwhile, we're going to be playing TransRoad USA. Not too old of a game here. This is a logistics management as you control a transport company. We are just into the early game, kind of escaping our way out of the tutorial stages on this one. I have played this a bit, of course, on the PC, and with being on the Mac today, none of those files are transferable, so we start from scratch. We set up a company out of Portland, and we've got a single truck at our disposal right now, and he is on single routes at the moment, collecting a little bit of cash for us as we get things going. So we'll ride on with this truck, and then we'll begin the discussion of stage 14. So stage 14 today is, well, it's a sprint stage, but it's not a flat one. So if you expect the normal slog that is, turn the thing on just before it ends and watch the sprint to the end because there was a small breakaway that never got more than a couple minutes, and everybody just kept them at bay and rode easy and basically took it as a rest day, and then they catch them in the final moments and we have a huge bunch sprint, and woo, there's your excitement the last 5-6 kilometers when they accelerate. Not the case today. Not the case at all, actually. Like I said, this was not a flat stage. The early profile, there was a category 4 and then a category 2. Yes, a category 2 on a flat stage. And then a cat 3 intermediate sprint within that area. And then the late profile, a very long uphill slog that was uncategorized. And then 2 category 4s within the last 10 kilometers of the stage. News entering the stage, Romain Bardet out. You remember yesterday he lost 2.5 minutes, slipped out of the top 10, and more than that, he had a crash in the stage leading up to that. Turns out he had a concussion from that, so he is out, has abandoned. Also today, Pierre Latour, teammate of Bardet, has abandoned as well. All right, so intermediate sprint was very early in this one. We'll begin with that. At the time of the intermediate sprint, there was a breakaway of 2. They had a fairly sizable gap. There had been 4, but 2 of those were reeled back in, sat up, went back into the bunch. And Sagan, with a teammate, attacked, got some distance, and got up to it. This was not a flat intermediate sprint. It was actually another little punchy section. And Sagan claims 3rd place, picking up 15 points in the points classification. Sam Bennett could not go with that attack, but he was in the bunch and was able to sprint. And he gets 6th place. So that was 10 points. So we see a 5-point gain by Sagan at the intermediate sprint. So my truck has arrived at Denver for the first time, so we unlock that region, and now I've got to figure out what to do from here. Well, let's see. We want to open this up. And let's see. We can go to Albuquerque or Bismarck. Bismarck's going to pay a lot better, but it's going to send us completely the wrong direction. The others are multiple trips, which I just don't want to get into, so I guess we're going to head to Albuquerque. And let's grab our truck. Can we... Oh, I got to accept it first. It's been a while since I've played. Ta-da! There we go. Single trips for now is the way to go. Often early in the game, you want to get whatever cash you can before you start setting up multiple trips that pay out over time. Now, we do have some money. We could expand, but we're here for a discussion, not so much the game. we have a gap of 61 points after those 5 points gained at that intermediate sprint. Stephen Kung was one of those 2 riders away. He went on to ride solo soon after that, pressing on. And he claims the Category 2 and the Category 3 climb. Again, it was originally a small group of 4, and then it was a small group of 2, and then Kung riding solo, and he was caught at 80K to go. Now, the reason for that was over those climbs, Bora Hansgrohe, when they made that little move to get that intermediate sprint, they didn't let up. They didn't let up one bit. Now, it didn't continue on as a breakaway, but it did continued on with a peloton, Bora at the front, and Bora pushing the pace big time pushing the pace, enough so that over that Category 2 climb, Sam Bennett just distanced, and that gap opened, and it opened more. Bennett out the back, other sprinters, Caleb Ewan long since out the back, but Bennett had been distanced. Now, his team immediately rallied to his cause. They joined him. They were prepared to help him get back with the bunch. Back to Denver. Here we go. Okay. Drop our one and only truck onto that task. And we're off and moving. And we'll stay with him as he goes. You know what? Maybe we'll speed this up a little. Though this game, surprisingly, is laggy. As low-key as this game is, you wouldn't expect it to be laggy. I understand the circumstances. You should by now understand the circumstances if you've watched these previous episodes. CPU down, out of commission, now at the warranty service where they're about to send me a new one. So we're on the little MacBook Air laptop running recording software and games at the same time. Yeah, not the best combination. Hence the low-key games and something a little different on the channel than normal. Continuing on here, Bora continued to push the tempo to kind of quick step, working hard with Sam Bennett trying to chase. The gap was hovering between 1.5 minutes and 2 minutes behind with 75 kilometers to go, not long after they caught up to Stephen Kung. Bennett waved his hands and said, guys, sorry, I can't do this. Even if we do make it back, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to have anything left in the tank. And they sat up. And that whole chase group, that was it. They were done. They had been closing the gap ever so slightly, but that was it. Game over. With no break, the pace in the peloton actually still had to remain high, otherwise new breaks would form. And as you're getting into the final 75 kilometers, you're looking at a point where it's late enough in the stage. If you get 10 riders off the front with only 75K to go, they've got a great chance of hanging on if they pull any sort of gap. And we're still looking at Bismarck here. I guess we're gonna have to take it. Wait, are you gonna work with me here? There you go. Okay, let's confirm that one. And we'll get our truck on it. Okay, why aren't we moving? Should be moving by now. Is this the wrong kind of truck? No, it's supplies. Right? There you go. Okay. They're going. So pace stays high. No peloton forms. They're onto their pickup site. Different from where they were moments ago. And away they go. Half of the contenders for the stage were off the back, including all of the pure sprinters. But hybrids, Sagan, Trentin, Van Aert, they remained. And then, of course, all the punchers with 2 very late Category 4 climbs, 1.5 kilometer little punchy hills in town in Lyon. That was definitely going to change the landscape. And all those punchers were still there, as they, can handle the climbs a bit better than the pure sprinters can. From there, though, pace just keeps up. Relentless pace, ongoing, pretty much to the end. That long, uncategorized climb, that's where the sit-up happened early on that. They knew they were going to go uphill again. And the long descent from that one actually really brought us to a quick end from, what was looking like a pretty, long distance still to cover. All right, back to Denver. Oh, can't do it that way. Oh, still got to accept. I always want to forget that stage. I don't know why you can't just take it, why you have to go through and confirm. So, they start rolling right into those last 2 climbs, into those final kilometers. Tish Benoot, first attack. He does it on the base of the penultimate climb. And at the same time, Richie Porte, mechanical. Elisande immediately hops off his bike and gives Porte his. He's able to bridge that gap, so that the only GC news of the day, outside of Bardet, who had already dropped out of the top 10, abandoning prior to the stage. Porte with that mechanical, that was the only news. So we're not going to be talking about the GC after this point at all. He was able to get back in. Really, I had 2 days to get this. How do we have a delay on this? I have 1 day and 9 hours to get there still. Anyway. He makes it back on, so nothing happens GC-wise. So back to the stage and the points classification, what might be happening there. Sagan, of course, in contention. Even though Benoot had attacked, and it looked pretty decent at first, they pull it back at 7K. But then, interestingly, Kamna, a Bora rider, was off the front. That was strange. It was really strange. Didn't understand what was going on with that one. But, okay. I guess. I mean, what can you say? But he was off the front. They pull that back together, and De Gent attacks. Okay, looks like you could go to Albuquerque again. Why not? Not messing around with much here. De Gent had attacked. Alaphilippe just full bore 100% speed attacks as well, and then fades and doesn't even challenge. I don't even know if he was in the peloton at the end. Alaphilippe is doing the worst ride of his career, in my opinion, right now. He's reckless, dangerous, overly aggressive, and failing miserably at every single one of those attempts. He looks nothing like he looked a year ago or throughout the year last year, where he was just in another stratosphere of form. He has looked less than stellar this year, and this tour in particular. Peloton pushed really hard because an Ineos rider, not sure who, looked to try to attack right behind Alaphilippe. And so Jumbo-Visma chased, and that pulled the whole Peloton along, and they were able to pull it all back together. And that got us through that first penultimate climb and setting up towards the final climb of the day. Let's go ahead and do another contract here. Dallas. Onto a new region. Let's not get this and see if you can just confirm for me. Can you do that? Or not? Click a jag. You want to work with me? There you go. Alright, so we're going to head on to Dallas now. Alright, so 4K to go. Mark Hershey attacks. But he slows up at 3K to go. And then we see this really interesting thing happen. So they're on that final climb. And just as Hershey was getting pulled back, and you had the whole peloton there, you see that instant lift in pace, in tempo, as they're going over the last climb. They're trying to take a breather, setting up for a small bunch sprint. But oh wait, no, there's more. Sunweb have been a part of most of this. They've attacked, and then it's been pulled back, and then they attacked with another rider, and then it's been pulled back, and then they attacked with another rider. They've continually attacked one guy after the next with their team through these last two climbs. And they weren't done yet. This time, Soren Kragh Andersen, immediately, the moment they pull back Hershey and sit up, Kragh Andersen flies out of the bunch. And everybody just looked left, right, going, you gonna chase? You gonna chase him? Nope, nobody's chasing him. And then everybody was like, oh, well, somebody's got to, we got to do something. And they kind of just casually accelerated. But who went to the front? Sunweb. Sunweb went to the front. They had no problem being the one setting the tempo. A tempo clearly slower than their man, Kragh Andersen, had going at the front. And so then somebody went up to the front to go, and then they just, they just stayed on the wheel. And they broke things up. Sunweb shut the peloton down enough, created enough havoc, enough confusion that all of a sudden, within moments, Kragh Andersen had an 11-second lead. He probably had that 11-second lead in about 15 seconds. I mean, it was just like that. He rode hard, they hesitated, and he was out front. There was a downhill run, and then a short false flat, and then wide open road to the finish. They weren't pulling back 11 seconds. In fact, not only did they not pull 11 seconds back, Kragh Andersen wins by 15 seconds. Solo victory. Now from there, we had our bunch sprint. Sagan went too early, faded just a little bit, actually started to sit up like he typically does. If you have not noticed this about Peter Sagan by now, Peter Sagan has a tendency to race when he realizes he's not going to win. A lot of guys do this, by the way. They sit up. What's the point? He started to do that. He sat up and then hunched over and started pedaling again. He's going to hang on to fourth place, which is third in the bunch sprint. Mezgec was the one who ends up winning that sprint for second place. But fourth place Fourth place is worth 18 points for Peter Sagan. That means he closed the gap by 23 points on the day. Sam Bennett now on 262 points. Sagan at 219. That's 43 points behind. Now, that means we are now in that window. We're now in that window where, if not for stage 11, if not for a selfie stick over the barrier and Sagan saving his own life and that of those around him with just a nudge to get out of the way of the selfie stick that was then penalized. Second time in recent years, 2017, the other time, that he has been unjustly penalized. And I know some of you think that he should have been penalized. I think it's 100% no chance. Now, if not for the selfie stick, I could see why there's a penalty. I didn't think it was a penalty, but without selfie stick, I was thinking 30, 40% naughty. Over 50%, that means penalty, right? You lean more towards penalty than not. I would more or less agree with it. It's certainly no slam dunk. He didn't take anybody out. He nudged him from behind, pushing him forward. So Van Aert was completely unfazed by it, other than that he moved over a few inches. But for Sagan, it was saving his life. He's going face first into a selfie stick if he doesn't do that at 68, 69 kilometers per hour. Yeah, no thanks. I would move too. 53-point swing for that penalty. 30 for being relegated to the back. 10 for Sam Bennett moving up that one more spot from third to second on that stage. And the baffling part of this, not only relegated to the back, but also a 13-point penalty for Sagan. So 53 overall. He's 43 behind. Sagan should be in green today with a 10-point lead. We have a heck of a race on our hands for the points classification, and Sagan should have just, through brilliant team tactics, put that jersey on by a small margin with a lot of racing still to go and nothing to be said that it's going to be his or Bennett's. 43 behind. It's a tough gap. That is a tough gap, and I'm not sure I see him making up 43 more points along the way. He needed that one or two. He needed a couple spots higher up the standings. He needed not necessarily to win. That was 50 points, but second is 30. But then it drops to 20, and then 18, right? Small gap. One more position's only 2 points. Two more positions, 12 more points. That would have made a bigger dent on things than what he was able to get. Disappointing on that part, but Sagan, not a pure sprinter, not the fastest guy. And it was a hard day thanks to his team. I can understand, especially with those late climbs, that he wasn't going to claim the win. Nobody picked him to win the stage, even when we got down to the relegated small group. In fact, a lot of people picked Matteo Trentin over him, and for good reason. His team was confident in him as well. It wasn't just Bora at the front. It was CCC helping. Not as much, but they certainly helped. Trentin took 7th, I think, on the stage. Maybe 8th. I think it was 7th. He's up to 169 points himself and into 3rd place in the points classification. So Trentin making progress there. If something happens ahead of him, he's in with a shout. He's exactly 50 points behind Sagan. At least currently. It would be 100 otherwise. So we still have a race on our hands. Points classification far from decided. And of course, as I mentioned yesterday, and might have mentioned the day before, I don't agree with the penalty at all. Again, without selfie stick, I find it a little bit naughty, but not worthy of a penalty. With selfie stick, I find zero blame in any rider as to what happened. That's a racing incident, and it is the commissaire's fault. It is the race organizer's fault for allowing that just meters from the finish and not catching it and not doing something about it. It's their fault. They need to put their hand up and say, hey, look, sorry, we did this. It's our fault. Can't blame these guys. And yet, again, as they did in 2017, and took him out of the race for something that was 0% his fault, at least they didn't disqualify him this time. I'm already up in arms. It would be a whole lot worse. I guess I'll close with this. I'm somebody who is very distrusting of Big Brother, of the man, of the machine, of whatever organizers that are out there. I have left my profession and opened a business with my wife and doing this because I'm very distrusting of living in a country that is very, 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 very corrupt at the top. And it's not just the face of the country, who themselves are laughable to the rest of the world. Regardless of your opinion of them, it's both sides, it's all sides, it's everybody who, I live in an oligarchy that is claims to be a democracy. Through all of that and through all of the self-serving interests around this nation, I don't trust those at the top. And for me, what's happened with Sagan is in 2017 and now again in 2020 is race organizers who can't stand to see the same person wearing the jersey. I don't think they have any problem with Sagan personally. I think they have a problem with the same winner over and over again, and they're doing whatever they can, when they can, to stop that from happening. They took him out of the race when Cavendish, who I was a huge fan of until that moment, really, because of what he said after and what he's done since. Cavendish took himself out. He did. That was 100% Cavendish's fault. There was no gap. Sagan was up against a barrier. I know that the whole field moved left to right. There was no gap. He went somewhere that didn't exist. In this one, Sagan went somewhere that did exist. The barriers are the boundary. He was within the boundary. He didn't cheat. He didn't do anything wrong. He just showed really good bike handling skills to go up a small gap, which he cleanly made through the first man and was cleanly making his way through Van Aert before the selfie stick forced him off the line. Not his fault. Anyway, I don't trust the organizers, and I'm not a fan. So as a result, I'm rooting for him to stick it to the man. It's as simple as that. So for this point, I have nothing against Bennett, but I want to see Sagan stick it to the man and make up those 53 points. He's cut into that gap now. He would have the lead if not for the penalty. We'll see if he can take it from here. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Thanks for tuning in. Definitely comment below. See if you have any amount of agreement or disagreement. Let me know. I mean, this is it's certainly controversial either way, no matter where you stand on it. So it's worth talking about. I mean, I guess they've given us that, but I'd rather have it won on merit or lost on merit one way or the other. Be sure to hit that like button. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.